Hello guys, welcome to our channel Wisdom ML. And the main purpose of starting this channel is to share real-time case studies in different domains like healthcare, banking and finance, retail, and share some real-time case studies with practical data sets. And I'm Siddharth, and I'm a senior data scientist in an Indian-based banking company. Uh, I have a rich exposure in banking finance related projects, and I have deployed many fintech machine learning projects end to end. And apart from that, I have also associated with healthcare research projects, and I have also researched. I have also published two research papers in healthcare domain. So that's why my core passion is towards healthcare related case studies and projects. That's why I started my first video in this channel with this healthcare project, early stage diabetes detection. It is a quite new data set which is available in UCI machine learning repository, and this is basically a questionnaire data set which is collected by two Bangladeshi and one UK doctor, and for identifying diabetes disease. So as you can see, it has around 16 features and one target variable. The two features are age and gender. Age is basically a continuous variable, and it ranges from 20 to 65 years. Apart from that, there's gender, and uh, apart from these two features, all the other features are the symptoms. And based on that, we will decide that the patient is suffering from diabetes or not. So these are very critical features, and we'll discuss every feature one by one. And one important thing I want to convey you friends that in every real time case studies which I will present to you, which I'll demo you, I'll be talking more about data, not more about machine learning implementation, because it is very important to put input data which is very means quality data. You have to input quality data into the machine learning model, because it is same as you garbage in and garbage out. Machine learning is nothing but a black box if you have not applied any interpretation techniques. So in some of the other projects, we'll be more talking about machine learning interpretation part. But in this project, we'll be talking more about data part, and then we'll implement two machine learning algorithms, uh, which is basic one, logistic regression, and the random forest. And the reason for applying these two machine learning algorithms and not others is that these are more interpretable, means you can see what are the important features in it, and in case of random or any tree based algorithm, you can also further interpret how the features behave using different libraries, interpretable libraries. So uh, as SVM, support vector machines, are also very important algorithms in terms of healthcare data, and that too with some continuous variables. But in this case, we'll be using only these two, random forest and logistic regression. And in whole of the session, I have written full code and to save time. So beforehand, and so that's why I will be discussing every code line by line. And first of all, I will discuss each of the feature one by one. Apart from age and gender, which are very obvious features, we'll not talking much about that. I'll talking about the distribution of gender here. And as we know about the distribution of age, which ranges from 20 to 65 years, we'll not be talking about much about age. So next we'll be seeing our first feature, which is age. So first of all, we'll import important libraries for data pre-processing task. We have used NumPy, Pandas, and for data for feature scaling, we are using min-max scaler. And one important thing, there are different feature scaling algorithms like a standard scaler, robust scalar, min-max scalar. And the reason for using this min-max scalar is that, as you can see, all our features, as you can see, these are all symptotic features and they are all in terms of yes, no, yes, no. So we have to convert it into binary variables because machine learning algorithms will not understand textual data. So we have to convert it into numeric form. And as soon as we convert this into the numeric form, or this will convert into basically binary variable 0 1. So we have to convert age also in terms of 0 1 range. Means we have to normalize the age in terms of 0 1 range. So that's why we are using here min max scalar, because it will scale your variable in terms of in between 0 to 1 range. So apart from that, so first of all, we have read the dataset using pandas library, and we'll be seeing using df.head what are the top records. And as we can see, all data is fine, everything is yes no format, apart from age and gender. And this is the class variable which is positive and negative. So positive means the patient suffering from diabetes, and negative means is normal. So next we'll be checking there if there is any missing values. So as you can see, there is no missing values. Next we'll be seeing df info. So from df info we'll get the overall understanding of the data in terms of statistical terms. So we have 520 entries, and this data set is around 69 kb, so it's a very quite small data set. And basically healthcare data sets are generally quite small because we don't get the access of that much patients data. This is the main problem in healthcare domain. So here, as you can see, we have 520 records, and all are not null, and age is int 64. Apart from that, these are all object which are categorical variables, and we have to convert it into binary format. Next, first thing we will check that whether our data set is suffering from imbalanced data problem or not, because imbalanced data set is what, if you have, for example, two classes, positive, negative, and negative is somewhat 10% and positive is somewhat 90%, then your data set is suffering from serious imbalanced data problem. And for dealing with that, there are different techniques. We have to upsample, downsample. There are different techniques. But here in this case, we have a balanced data set because as we can see, it is 300, more than 300 records are positive and around 200 records are negative. And if you can see in terms of pie chart, so around 62% cases are positive and 38 are negative. So we can say it is a balanced data set, and we should be careful towards the positive negative part while classifying through machine learning models. Next, our first, apart from age, our first feature is gender, and I am showing this distribution in terms of gender, and apart from that, we are also using class distribution among between the within the gender. So for that, we are using sns.count plot for actual counting the categorical variable, and cbond, which we are using as cns. It is a very good library for plotting good plots, good and very means simple plots. So as you can see, we have passed in hue variable or class variable. That's why it is further segregated into class variables, positive and negatives. And the most intuitive part, after seeing this graph, we can see females positive cases are much in terms of males, and female negatives are very low. So this data set is more focused towards female diabetic patients in comparison to male diabetic patients. Male diabetic patients are there, but females are more, female positive cases are more and negative are less, whereas in male positives are there but negatives are more. So this is the thing. Next, in terms of percentage, if we can see, so if female, positive cases are 54.06%, whereas in case of male, it is 90.5%. So next we'll be seeing our next variable feature, which is polyuria. Polyuria is generally a symptoms in which there is a frequent passage of large volumes of urine, more than 3 liters a day, compared to the normal daily urine output in adults, which is about 1 to 2 liters. And the most common cause of polyuria in both adults and children is uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. So it is a really critical feature for detecting diabetes, and it also causes due to osmotic diuresis, which generally happens. What is this osmotic diuresis? It is basically when glucose levels are so high that glucose is excreted in the urine, and water follows the glucose concentration passively, leading to abnormally high urine output. So that's why it is a quite good indicator for that if whether patient is suffering from diabetes or not. And in the absence of diabetes mellitus, means if the patient is suffering from polyuria and he is not he is not detected with diabetes, then the most common causes are decreased secretion of aldosterone due to adrenal cortical tumor, which is primarily polydipsia, which is another feature of our of in our data sets, and which is what somewhat excessive fluid drinking. So if we observe its distribution, so if the patient is suffering from polyuria, his chances of being positive is 75.94%, and if is not suffering from polyuria, then its chances of being negative is 92.5%. So this feature, as you can see, is a very critical feature for identifying diabetes. Next feature is our polydipsia, which is excessive drinking. Uh, sorry, which is excessive drinking, and this is basically excessive thirst, and is it is one of the initial symptoms of diabetes. According to doctors, it is also usually accompanied by temporary or prolonged dryness of the mouth. Means if you feel thirsty all the time, or your thirst is stronger than usual, then continues even after you drink, it can be a sign that all is not well inside your body. So, and as excessive thirst generally caused by high blood sugar, which is also known as hyperglycemia, and it is also one of the big three signs of diabetes mellitus. And what are they? This is polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. These are the three big signs for diabetes. So, generally, increased thirst, polydipsia, is coupled with polyuria in combination. So, the patient, if the patient is suffering from both, then its chances of being detected with diabetes will be more. So, what is the distribution? If you can see, yes, it is also a very important feature, just like polyuria. If the patient is suffering from polydipsia, its chances of being positive 70%, no, then 96. Next feature is sudden weight loss. Sudden weight loss is also an important feature in terms of diabetes. As you can see, if suffering from diabetes, then chance of being positive is 58.75%. And if the patient is not suffering from sudden weight loss, then its chance of being negative is 85.5%. While one thing I want to convey you guys, that sudden weight loss may be a result of some other features also, some other common disease also. So we cannot say with confidence that sudden weight loss is the most critical feature, because as you can see, if the patient is not suffering from sudden weight loss, his chances of being positive is also good percentage, 41.25%. So we cannot say that this is the most critical feature. It is important, but it is coupled with some other feature. If it is coupled or associated with some other feature, then we can say that the patient is suffering from diabetes. Next, we'll see another feature, weakness. Weakness is also a good feature, but as I said, weakness may be a cause of some other disease. And as you can see, if the patient is not suffering from weakness, then his chances of being Positive is also good, 31.87%. Whereas if the patient is suffering from weakness, then according to this data set, the chances of being positive is 68.12%. But chances of negative is also 43.5. So we have to see, it is not a very good indicator. Next, we'll be seeing polyphagia. Polyphagia is basically excessive hunger, extreme hunger, and it is different than usual hunger, which we generally feel when we do lots of exercise. Because after doing lots of exercise or physical activity, our appetite increased and we used to eat more. But this is somewhat different, because in case of normal hunger, your hunger will return to normal after eating, while in case of polyphagia it won't go away. So it is a serious sign, I think, for diabetes. Yes, as you can see according to the data, if you are suffering from polyphagia, your chance of being positive is 59.06% and negative is 24%. So quite good feature. Next is genital thrush. Genital thrush is somewhat, it is also known as candidiasis. It is a common condition caused by type of yeast which is called as candida, and it is generally present in, um, uh, as you can see, mouth, bowel, vagina, and foreskin of penis. And this is caused when there is an overgrowth of this candida yeast. So let's see what's its distribution. As we can see, it is not much important feature. As we can see, if the patient is not suffering from genital thrush, then its chances of being negative is 83.5, while positive is also 74. So, and in case of yes, the percentage is almost close. So we cannot say that it is a very critical feature. Next, we'll be seeing visual blurring. It is quite intuitive feature. Visual blurring, sometimes when we observe uh, haziness in our images, what we see. So it is, according to data, is a very means quite intuitive feature, because in case of yes, it is 54.69, while in case of negative is 29. So it is also important feature, but independently, I think it is not a good feature. You have to combine with some other features, other symptoms. Next is a very common feature, which is itching, and we know that itching is not a very good indicator for diabetes, because it may cause due to normal conditions also. So as we can see, the distribution quite similar, so we cannot say it is a good feature. Next is comes the irritability. Irritability is some same. Irritability may be a cause of some other disease or some other um, uncomfortableness of our body. So this is, as you can see, that chances of being, in case of no, chances of being positive is more, and in case of yes, it is somewhat not much, but yes, 34.38% in comparison to 8%. But uh, as we know beforehand that it is not a good feature. Next, delayed healing. Delayed healing may be a cause of another disease. So we cannot say that if the patient is suffering from delayed healing, that is confirmed that he is suffering from diabetes. But as you can see, the distribution is somewhat very close. So if the distribution is close, then you can obviously say that this is not a very intuitive feature for predicting diabetes. Partial paresis. Partial paresis somewhat involves weakening of your muscle or group of muscles, and it is also type of mild paralysis. Paralysis. Unlike paralysis, in this, people with paresis can still move their muscles, but in case of paralysis, we cannot move our muscles. So, but these movements are just weaker than normal. That's it. So this is partial paresis, and let's see its distribution. Its distribution is somewhat very good. If the patient is not suffering from partial paresis, chances of being negative 84, while positive is 40. So the difference is around more than double. And here, if the patient is suffering from partial paresis, then his chances of being positive is 60. It is not double, but it is more than three times, around four times. So It is a very good feature, but still you have to combine with some other symptoms to properly detect diabetes. Another feature is muscle stiffness, and we know muscle stiffness may be a cause of some other features for some other disease. And its data also shows that the distribution is somewhat very near, very close, so we cannot say. Next come alopecia. Alopecia is generally circular baldness, which comes in terms of circular format, and it occurs when the immune system attacks hair follicles, and it may be brought on by severe stress, which is the main symptom of hair loss. And because we know that in most of the cases when we were too much stressed, then this type of condition occurs. And before analyzing this its distribution, I can tell you that when you have more tension, more stress, then this condition will occur, may occur, and in turn you will also suffer from hypertension or diabetes. So it may be a cause for diabetes. So if we see the distribution, that if you are suffering from alopecia, then chances of being negative is more in comparison to positive. This is somewhat different. And if you are not suffering from alopecia, then your chances of being positive is more. So it is inverse relationship. Next, we'll be seeing obesity. Obesity is also not a crude feature for detecting diabetes. According to this data, as we can see, no, in case of no, 86.5% chances of negative, whereas positives are also 80.94%. Whereas in case of yes, chances of positive is 19, whereas negative is 13.5. So uh, I'm not saying much about its features, because these features are directly collected from the questionnaires from different patients which are suffering from diabetes, or some of them are not suffering from diabetes. So it is, these features are somewhat different from our normal usual understanding or normal usual facts that we know about diabetes. So because it is very important how you collect your data. If your data collection is near about unbiased or practical, then it will show in terms of your distribution. So, and as we know, obesity is a good feature for detecting diabetes, because when we are suffering from diabetes, we used to eat more, we used to eat more sweet foods and like that. So this may be a very good feature in real terms, but according to this data, it is not a good feature. Next will be, so these are our features. Next we'll be seeing the data pre-processing part. And as I've already told you initially, that we have to convert all our textual data in terms of numeric. So the our target variable is class. So we have converted it into 0 1 case. So 0 for negative and 1 in case of positive. We have used normal lambda function here. Next, we have segregated our features and target variable. X is our features and Y is our target variable. Next, what we have to do, as we know that all our features are basically textual in terms of yes, no, and male, female. So we have collected those features based by selecting the data types. All the features which have object data types, we have selected those features, and then we have used label encoding. Label encoding, what it does, it will simply encode the labels, encode the categorical features into numeric features, into numerical format. For example, if you have three categories, A, B, C, then it will convert 0, 1, 2. And in our case, it is normally two categories are there, yes, no, male, female. So we have normally used label encoder, because, but in case if your any feature is more than two categories, A, B, C, D, then you have to use one hot encoding, and using pd.get dummies. Okay. So here we have used simple label encoding, and we have transformed all our categorical features into numerical formats, 0, 1 format. So as you can see, all are converted into integer format. Next, yes, so this is the data after transformation, all our features, and these are all converted into 0, 1 format. Next step, what we can see is how the features are correlated with our target variables. So as we can see, using Pearson correlation, which is the default correlation in pandas, as we can see, the most correlated feature is polyuria, 0.665922. Then comes our second, which is polydipsia, 0.648734. Next, which is very quite surprising, that sudden weight loss is 0.43, and another is partial paresis, 0.4322, and after that polyphagia, 0.34. So these are important features, where some of them are negative, that I've already told you. Alopecia is negative, means if you are positive, your chances of being diabetes negative are more, whereas itching is also negatively correlated. Now let's see in terms of graphical format. Yes, so gender is also negative. Okay, but here what we can see, yeah, gender is also negative. So we have three features which are negative correlated: gender, itching, and alopecia. And the most positively correlated variables are these three, basically these four, which is polyuria, polydipsia, sudden weight loss, and partial paresis. Next, we'll split our data set into train test split. Sorry, train test split. And we are splitting into 80-20 ratio. 80% will be used for training our models, and 20% will be used for testing the model and evaluating the model. And the other parameter we have used is stratify. It is very important, guys, for if you are doing any classification task and splitting your data set. It is very important to use this parameter stratify, because stratified splitting is very important. What it does is that when it will split into train and test format, then it will maintain the proportion of the target variable. Okay, what I'm talking is, means if you are randomly splitting, then it may happen that for example, if we have two categorical variables, positive, negative, then it may happen that in training data set we have more positives than negative, but in test we have more negative than positive. Then the result or evaluation will be, then the model building part will be affected. So that's why we have to make sure that while splitting, the proportion of the target variable will be equal. So here we can see that in training set we have 256 positive cases and 160 negative cases, whereas in test set 64 40. So it is somewhat similar distribution. So next we'll be seeing we'll be doing data normalization, and as I already told you that all the variables are 0, 1 binary format, so we have to convert our age into in the range of 0, 1 format using min max scale. So we have only scaled our age feature, not other features. So as we can see, age is converted in the range of 0, 1 format, and all other features are binary. Next, comes our model building part. So we have used logic regression as our base model, and we have used penalty L2. L2 is basically L2 penalty is basically regularization, which is uh, ridge regression. And as we can see, ridge regression basically at ridge regression is Ridge regression. So first model we are using is logistic regression, which is our base model, and we have used one parameter penalty as L2, and L2, as we know, it is a ridge regression. It is a regularization parameter, and it will add a squared magnitude of weights into the coefficients for minimizing the loss function. So uh, next, after fitting this model, we'll be cross-validating our model using k-fold from model selection, and we are using 10-fold cross-validation. So a cross-val score is defined in sklearn library for cross-validating our models, and estimator is our logistic regression, and it will what it will do, it will split your training data set into 10 equal folds, and it will train your model in 9 folds, and it will test on one fold, and it will keep on doing this by rotating the different folds one by one. So your testing fold will be different in every iteration. So what we will getting is that the in every fold you will get some accuracy, and what we are doing is we are taking the mean of those 10 accuracies, and it is coming around 91.81%. So it is very important before actually testing your model to cross validate your model, because cross validation will give you a sense that how your model is performing in itself in your data, in your training data. Okay, because if cross validation accuracy is very low, then it is very low chances that you will get higher accuracy in your test data set, because your model is underfitting. Your model is not predicting or analyzing the pattern within the training set. So how it will analyze your pattern in the test set, how it will predict the variables in the test set. So that's why it is very important. So 91.81% accuracy. Next, we'll be seeing some other performance metrics, which are accuracy, ROC, precision score, recall, and F1 score. So after doing this, we can see that our actual test accuracy is 97.11%. Cross validation accuracy is 91.81%. Precision is 98.4%. Recall is 96.8. F1 is 97.63, and ROC is 97.1875, which shows that the model is doing pretty well. And it is a very basic model. So it is very important that how your data is, because it is very low chances that you are achieving 60% accuracy in logistic regression, and with XGBoost or some advanced machine learning algorithm, you will get accuracy more than 90%. It is not possible. The range of accuracy from your base model to advanced model will be between 5 to 10%, not more than that in general cases, most of the cases. So it is very important how you have pre-processed your data set, how you have uh, add features in your data set, because most of the time if you have not added intuitive features or important features, your accuracy will not improve. It will stuck around 60 to 70%. So this is very important. And if your base model is performing well and giving more than 90%, then it means your data pre-processing part is good, and your itself data is quite predictive in nature. So next, we'll be seeing confusion matrix. So as we can see, this is the false positive, and it is only one, that is good, and false negative is two. So it is very important that we should reduce false negative in case of healthcare. Basically, if you are detecting any health related issues, so it is very important that false negative should be much less in comparison to false positive, because if you are detecting a diabetic patient that is not diabetic, then it is a really serious concern. So, main motto of building any healthcare model is that we should keep our false negatives low. So, and we know that recall is also known as sensitivity, and there is another term is specificity, which is true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. This is also very good estimate in any healthcare project, in healthcare domain, sensitivity and specificity, and it is 97.5%. So our base model logistic regression done pretty well. And if we see what are the important features, so how we can see, so we know that logistic regression comes with two parameters, which is coefficients and intercept. Coefficients are those features, coefficients are basically whatever your features. According to that, what are your coefficients? Because it is somewhat similar to linear regression. We know that y is equal to x plus b. So here the coefficient part is very important, and it will actually give the weightage in terms of your weight. Whichever your feature is important, it will give higher coefficients or more coefficient value in terms of absolute value. It will give more value to most important features. So let's see which are the most important features in this data set. Yes, as we can already discuss, as we have already discussed, polydipsia here is a very important feature. Then comes polyuria, then comes gender, then comes itching, and then comes irritability. So these are the top five features according to logistic regression. Whereas partial paresis comes very down. So this is our base model. Next we'll be doing random forest, and we'll not be tuning our models because our model is already doing pretty well, 90% accuracy. So we'll not be tuning our models. We'll just see how the base model performs with default parameters. So we are using here Gini criteria. This is the two parameters we are hyperparameters we are using, and estimators with how many number of trees our random forest will use for building the random forest. So we are using 100, and criteria we are using Gini. The basic difference, there are two basic criteria, Gini and entropy. And the major difference in implementation part between these two is that Gini doesn't use log for its calculation, whereas entropy use log. So Gini is quite faster in terms of model fitting and in comparison to entropy, which involves logarithm part. So that's why, apart from that, there is no basic difference in terms of results or performance. So we have just used Gini, and after doing cross validation, we have found that 97.822% cross validation, which is very much higher than our logistic regression, which is somewhat around 91%. So it is doing pretty well in our cross validation part. Next, after evaluating on other parameters, we can observe that its accuracy is increased in comparison to our base model. Its cross validation is way higher than logistic regression. Precision is 100%. That's a good one. Recall is somewhat similar. F1 score is 98.4127, and ROC is also increased. So everything is increased apart from recall. And recall is that how much false negative you can reduce. Okay. So I can tell you that we have a false negative of 2. So if we evaluate in terms of confusion matrix this random forest model, then I think it will also give you two false negatives. But in terms of false positives, I think we have reduced something because we are getting 100% precision. So I think we have no false positive. Let's see. Yes. So we have zero false positives, and we have only two false negative, which is somewhat similar to our logistic regression model. And if we can observe that around 62 cases in test data set, we are predicting rightly that they are suffering from diabetes, and 40 cases we are correctly observing, and all the basically all the normal cases we are predicting rightly that uh, they are normal patients. Next, if we see the specificity, it is also 100%. So it is a very good model. in terms of practical implementation and generalizability. Next, we'll be seeing what are the important features in terms of random forest. And random forest comes with the important feature which is known as feature importance. We can see the feature importance of the random forest, what features are more contributing towards the prediction. And as we can see here, polyuria is best. Polyuria, then polydipsia, then age, then gender, then partial paresis, and then sudden weight loss. So our top five features are polyuria, polydipsia, age, gender, and partial paresis. So next we'll be seeing. So next, what we'll do, as a random forest feature, random forest model done pretty well, and it is better than our base model. So we'll be selecting top 10 features of our random forest model, which it detected as more feature importance, relative feature importance. So we have selected these 10 features, top 10 features, as you can see. And for this, what we are doing is we are filtering unwanted features or selecting only top 10 features. So after splitting the data set, same strategy is same 2080 with a stratify parameter, and we have scaled our age feature. Next, next comes the model building part and logistic regression. How much accuracy we have achieved in terms of cross validation? It reduced to 2%, 89.88%. And while seeing other things, uh, we can see that our accuracy was also decreased around 1%. Cross validation decreased around 2%. Precision is somewhat slightly decreased, not much. Recall reduced more than 1%. F1 score reduced more than 1%, and ROC is also reduced more than 1%. Next, we'll be seeing random forest after post feature selection. So cross validation is not much reduced, less than 1%, because in case of all the features we have around 0.97. While seeing other parameters, we'll seeing if we compare with our initial random forest, it is somewhat same accuracy. Cross validation accuracy is reduced, but apart from that, everything is same. As we can see, this and this, everything is same. So with top 10 features, our model is giving the same results. That is a good thing, because it is very important that you have less number of features but quality features, because it is not important to include more noisy features and more number of features. It is not important. The thing which is important is, if you are building a generalized model or practical model, you should have less features, because in the end what you are doing, if you are building an application and if you are trying to collecting data from the patients, then it is very important, then you should have around 10 to 15 features, because it will be in the end filled by the patient, so it should not be very lengthy. In less number of features, if your model is predicting is giving good results, then you have done a good job. So next we'll be seeing, so this is same, as we can see, it is 0 and it is 2 false negatives. Specificity is again 1, and yes, it is same, the order is same, top 10 features. Next we will be also plotting ROC, uh, receiver operating characteristics curve, and we can see that random forest done pretty well. It is somewhat ideal. 0.98 is the area under ROC, whereas for logistic regression is also done pretty well, 0.96. So I hope you have enjoyed this session, and you have seen a full evaluation part of the machine learning models, and you get the understanding of this of the data of this case study. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and if you really enjoyed, kindly subscribe our channel for more such videos to get your intuitive idea of real-time case studies. and like our video if you really like this session. Thanks for watching.